How did you get into this?
My sister-in-law called me, let's do dog electrolytes. I was like, okay. We called vets and pet nutritionists and this gal. She basically told us what this protocol was. And she was booked out for 1.5 years. And she was like, I don't know what to do. Can you guys scale me? And we were like, yeah, yeah, let's do this.
How fast are you growing at this point?
We're growing like 30% a month.
I think you could still have artificial intelligence turn one nutritionist into 10. So what's the difference between leaky gut and just Taco Bell?
Synonymous.
Synonymous, okay.
So I run an e-commerce store, Shopify, that is a leaky gut solution for dogs. So do you know what leaky gut syndrome is?
It sounds very descriptive, but I couldn't tell you what it actually is.
Yeah, so basically your gut is like a water balloon. It's not supposed to let anything out. But when it does, things go haywire kind of in your body, and especially on your skin and your digestive system. Humans have it. Like leaky gut syndrome is it's kind of a buzzword right now.
Okay.
But dogs also have it because kibble is not the best thing a dog should be eating. And most dogs are eating kibble. And so
what's the difference between leaky gut and just Taco Bell?
Synonymous.
That's what, okay.
Yeah. I think that's a number 5 at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brothers and I make a joke. So my sister, unfortunately, she passed away of colon cancer. And
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So we all have to get prostate exams regularly, right? Because if you have a close sibling who passed away from that, anyways, you need to get checked. And so whenever one of us is going to get checked, you've probably never had a prostate exam. What they do is they got to clear you out, right? So you drink this Gatorade mixed, essentially laxative, and you are just going to the bathroom all night. It's terrible. But my brothers and I will text each other when one of us is preparing for that and is like, hey guys, I'm getting some Taco Bell on the way home today. I should be ready for my colonoscopy tomorrow.
No Gatorade necessary.
No Gatorade necessary. Anyways, that's probably TMI, but
it's similar to what we do to the dogs. Just kidding. It's like it's kind of like, okay, let's what we do basically is we get a nutritionist looking at your dog's situation. They give you prescriptive diet recommendations, like customized diet recommendations based on what your dog is like currently, what his medical history was. And that food discontinues to feed yeast. Yeast is the big problem. Yeast causes inflammation in the gut. It gets into your blood, into the dog's bloodstream, and then comes out to the outsides of the dog, makes it super itchy. But if we can plug those holes and get rid of the yeast, then and then put in good bacteria into the gut is then out of dysbiosis, it's in balance.
Let me see if I understand this. I was thinking you just go to your e-commerce site and purchase a product, but you're talking about having a nutritionist actually come in and assess your pet. How do you do that?
Right after purchase, you get a 30-point questionnaire. Then you enter all your dog's information.
Well, let's back up. Okay, so I go to your e-commerce store. What am I purchasing?
You're purchasing a subscription, and the subscription is a little bit atypical. You get one product during the first month, and then you get another product every month after that.
So a subscription to a product, and the product being the vitamin or the whatever it is to bring balance to your gut, essentially?
Yep. Yeah. So there are 3 phases. The first phase is to get you or your dog onto a new food that doesn't feed yeast. And that happens in the first 10 days, roughly. It's a 10-day transition for the dog. And then after that, you start using our product, which is an MCT oil. And that detoxes the yeast from the dog's gut.
A CBD oil?
MCT. CBD is not out of the question, actually. It's very helpful after the protocol is over.
They're so distressed by having to eat that they're like, I need to relax. Please get me some CBD.
We just do straight marijuana usually for that. But no, CBD is anti-inflammatory, so it helps with.
What is MBT?
MCT. It's a medium chain triglyceride. And it basically doesn't harm the good bacteria in the gut while killing and then detoxing the yeast, the fungus, the bad bacteria.
Okay. Yeah. So I go to your website, the e-commerce site, I purchase it.
Mm-hmm.
I get the first 10 days are the same for everybody. Essentially, we're just getting you off of kibbles and bits.
Yep.
And then over those 10 days, at some point, you have a consult with a nutritionist, or like how does that part work?
No live consult with a nutritionist. You just get they review those 30 point questionnaire.
It's all self-reported data.
All self-reported data, but a live like an actual nutritionist is analyzing what's happening with your dog. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then you can interact with the nutritionist throughout your stay with us via email.
That seems interesting. Like it would seem like you would need a fecal sample in order to diagnose what's going on in their gut. Like how do you kind of get a nutritional diagnosis by a questionnaire?
Yeah, it's not a diagnosis necessarily. It is, but the symptoms of a yeast overgrowth in the gut microbiome are very readily apparent. We ask, one of the questions is, can you send us pictures of the problem areas? And typically the symptoms that they list and the pictures that they've posted along with those symptoms tell the nutritionist what they need to know. And it's not at all uncommon to have a yeast issue. And it's also not a bad thing for any dog to go through this protocol. Like every dog has some amount of yeast in their gut, which is actually a good thing. It's never a bad thing to like detox bad bacteria and then add in good bacteria.
So you said there's 3 phases to it. When does phase 3 end, or like how long is the subscription?
The subscription is as long as you want it to go, but the kind of the overhaul period is 3 months. So first month is focused on switching to a new food and then detoxing yeast. Second month and third month are both introducing and repopulating the gut with good bacteria quickly and consistently. And then once that 3-month period is over, we kind of drop the dose of the good bacteria, and it's just a maintenance coast after
Interesting. Yeah, I have more questions on that, but how did you get into this? Like this is a really big industry right now, right? Like there's pet insurance has been introduced over the last decade. You've got people who are way more willing to take their pets to the vet. So like my wife and I, in the last month, we bought 2 cats a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the cats was diagnosed, I can't remember what the term was, but they were diagnosed with something that was a terminal autoimmune disease. Literally just in May of this year, there was an approved drug that cured that disease. So like cats would just die of this before, but now there's a cure for it. And it, cost us like $5,000. I don't even remember how much it costs, but
Holy smokes.
people are spending money on their pets because pets are a part of the family. So I think you're entering into a wave that is growing, but how did you get into this? Were you always passionate about animals?
Well, I've always loved dogs, but it wasn't like, man, I need to combine business and dogs somehow. It was like, I kind of just got an itch during COVID. I was actually working overseas in Australia, and Australia's COVID policies were great. Like we weren't allowed out of a 5K radius.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and you had to be approved to go to the store in some cases to get. It was crazy, and they were actually like ticketing. Police is just walking.
All right, now's the part of the show where I feel the most uncomfortable, but my therapist says I need to face my fears. So here we are. I've started a newsletter, and I want you to subscribe. And what you're going to get every single week are the aggregated conversations from that week that I have on this podcast with an overview of what their business actually looks like. I'm also going to throw in a review of 1 or 2 businesses that are listed for sale. I'll give you my opinion on whether or not the EBITDA multiple is good, or there's customer concentration, or there's red flags or green flags. And then lastly, I'm going to give you 1 piece of actionable advice every single week on how to buy your first business. So click the link below, subscribe to my newsletter, and let's get back into the show.
Anyway, we were inside a lot, and my job was such that I could do it like rather efficiently. So I had a lot of time to think about like what I would do if I weren't doing this job. And anyway, that led to my first company, which is when we moved back to the US, Mystic Hollow Tents, which is like a themed glamping thing where I would come and set up a tent in somebody's backyard that was like Where the Wild Things Are themed, or wizard themed, or something like that. That was fun. That's like, I loved that, but it took way too long to set up and was inefficient. And like, I just couldn't make the finances work. Anyway, I still have the tent, and it's super cool. But yeah, so while that was failing, one of my, like a good friend of mine said that his brother's brother or something had sourced a bunch of dog leashes from China for some course that he was taking.
Okay.
And
Random.
Yeah. Just like, I think in college, he just wanted to see if he could do it. He was like, I don't want to do anything with this business. Like, I don't care about these leashes. I just wanted to see if I could do it. So I bought the leashes from him for $6,000, 1,000 leashes for $6,000. And I set a goal on January 1st, 2022 to start a profitable business that year. And so I was like, all right. So I bought them on January 2nd. and and I think I lost more leashes than I sold. They just like weren't that cool. They had like a wooden dowel handle, which is unique, but not unique enough. In fact, like people that I gave the leashes to, influencers and things like that, and even people I bought, I followed them on social media to track, because people post pictures of their dog all the time, and you can see what leashes they're using. They would use my leash for like a week, and then they would go back to their old leash. And I was like, that's a bad sign.
Awkward.
So
Yeah.
anyway, in the middle of that, my sister-in-law called me and she was like, let's do dog electrolytes. I was like, okay. She had just left. She's like pretty entrepreneurial and had just left a nonprofit where she'd been really successful. I was like, okay. So within a month, we wanted to vet our ideas. We called vets and pet nutritionists. And the first conversation we had was with this gal named Samantha Henson out in Michigan. She basically told us what this protocol was. And she'd been doing it for the last like 5 to 10 years in her own practice. She was booked out for a year and a half. And she was like, I don't know what to do. Can you guys scale me? And we were like, yeah, yeah, we can't. Like, let's do this. So Liz and I had this 2-hour meeting right after. We were just shaking with excitement.
You were taking informational calls in order to better understand the electrolyte, like dog electrolyte market. And you ended up talking to someone.
Setting them up. Yeah.
She starts kind of discussing, well, yeah, electrolytes are cool, but actually, have you heard of this protocol that I actually run on dogs?
Yeah. She was kind of like, look, yeah, this is what I'm doing.
You should go and listen. I'll send it to you. But Chris and I actually, a couple months ago, I think, did a podcast episode where we talked about starting a company with dog electrolytes. I think he even bought the domain, Salty Dog.
No, this is what I'm doing. You guys should scale me.
Just scale you.
Yeah.
No, but we like on that episode, we talked about what we would do to like sort of grow and scale. That just, anyways, so that's interesting. Are you currently doing the electrolytes as well or no?
No, we haven't touched it since that day.
That's so funny. Okay. So that conversation was so good. You were like, pivot. Why leave the electrolytes and go all in on the gut biome?
It was just, like everything she said was like, yes, we can do that. We can do this. We can create a DIY version of this where you don't have to have a 90-minute call with a nutritionist 3 times a month. It all just seemed very possible. And she was willing to work with us. Like she was willing to advise us and be the brains behind all of it. And it was like, okay, we could go and learn all we want to learn about electrolytes for dogs. And like, as like secular analysts, we don't know anything about the dog space other than that. Or we could use this brain that's already been working on this concept for the last 15 years and have her advise us and just create and just scale her. And that just sounded way more attractive.
And that makes sense, right? Because it's like, okay, it's not that you're any less passionate about or excited about the potential of doing something with electrolytes for dogs. It's just that this was a more readily, I guess, marketable or an easier business to launch.
Yeah. And we were reading her reviews and things too. And it was like, these people were, she had like a little cult. Like she changed these dogs' lives like orders of magnitude better.
You were telling me how many dogs has she helped during her career?
She's kept track. She set a goal, I don't know how long ago, to help 1 million pets. And she just accomplished that like May of this year or something.
How old is she?
She's not too much older than me. I think she's like shy of 40.
Jeez Louise. And she's 1 million pets?
She's funky, man. She's got a photographic memory. Like anything she hears is written down in her book upstairs. And she like had the dog encyclopedia memorized when she was 6. She's funky. Like she started studying and reading the back of dog food bags at the age of like 10 or something.
That's insane, man.
Yeah.
So, all right. So tell me about the business then. So you launched this business. Did you have any experience in e-commerce?
Only what I've told you about leash sales. So
The product that you're selling, is this a proprietary product or are you white labeling it from somewhere? Like, how are you
white
getting
labeling, yeah. The more proprietary thing is the actual protocol, like
protocol?
process itself. But
Mhm. So tell me about the size of the business right now. When did you launch the business?
we launched it in June of 2023. We launched it with a 3-month kit that did pretty well up front, but then we couldn't bring our CAC down. It was like we were charging about $200 for it, and our CAC was like 150, and that just didn't work at all.
It wasn't working.
Yeah, and so in December, I kind of just let it coast. My business partner went on a hiatus. She had a baby, and so she took time off. And
Who's your business partner?
my business partner is my sister-in-law,
Okay. So sister-in-law, what's her name?
Liz.
Liz. Okay. So you have sister-in-law Liz, and then the person who created the
Samantha,
protocol, Samantha.
out in Michigan. Mhm.
Is she involved with the business, or like how is she?
We have her like personally trained nutritionist working for us. She is like anybody who these nutritionists can't solve. We have Sam call that person to figure out what's going wrong.
And does Sam own any of this business, or is she just a consultant?
Yeah, Sam, we have a licensing deal with.
Oh, okay. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And had she been selling this before?
She was doing this and so running this protocol and creating like diets for dogs in her practice.
Okay.
But she wasn't doing the e-commerce thing at all.
She wasn't doing anything online. She wasn't selling any of this stuff
Mm-mm.
virtually. So when you set up the e-commerce site, like how did you go about figuring out the pricing? Like you said, the kit that you started selling was $200 and your CAC was 150. Like, how did you decide on the 200?
Yeah, we kind of priced it out, all our COGS and expected overhead and things like that, because we actually didn't have it set up at that point, but then multiplied it by 3, figuring that if we sold one, we would need like revenue to advertise and then sell another one. So it was basically just like multiplied by 3. Yeah. And then the CAC was just way too high.
So
way higher than expected.
Is there any variability to the price of your products that they're purchasing, or is it the subscription covers everything?
Subscription covers everything. It varies by size of dog, small, medium, large, giant. But apart from that,
walk me, just like a normal dog, what's the subscription cost per month?
So if you have most of our clients are bulldogs because, well, for a number of reasons that we could get into, but it would be boring probably. So they're usually like a medium.
Mm-hmm.
That's $44.99 a month for the first 3 months, and then it drops by 35% a month after that.
Okay, so $45 a month. That's going to be about $150 for the first 3 months, and then the rest of the 9 months are what, $35 a month?
No, yeah, well,
32.
Yeah, 32, something like that. But again, it's not a year long. It's the first 3 months, and then however long you want to have your dog on a probiotic after, basically.
What is the typical, like, what's your churn? How long do people typically stay on?
Yeah, the LTV is confusing right now because we just relaunched with the subscription in April. And so we don't really have very much data on that yet.
Okay.
But most people stick through the first 3 months, and then a lot of them will stay on for like another 2 months or something.
Okay, so 5 months is currently like the length of time. So let's call it the lifetime value of a customer is, I mean, it's not much more than that $200.
Yeah, not much more.
That's interesting. Is that average? Like, is that where it should be for this industry, or is that low?
I don't really know. Like what we're doing, because it's like a protocol up front and then like your average or like your good quality probiotic after. It's just confusing. Like I think we need a few more months of data to understand really what's happening. We got some people who have been with us since day one. Like they've ordered 24 times or however many months we've been open.
Other than a conversation with the nutritionist, that part I get. What is the fulfillment like? Or do you have a warehouse that you're shipping the stuff from, or is it white labeled and like you're just basically drop shipping?
Yeah, we just have a little warehouse and a fulfillment gal that.
Oh, so you are fulfilling orders?
Yep.
Oh, interesting. Why not just drop ship? Like, why not fully white label it and let whoever you're purchasing it from?
They won't like do the labeling for us and stuff like that. Yeah. So the companies that we're currently with won't do the labeling for us, but that's like definitely in the plans.
Do you know what your customer acquisition cost is right now?
It is right around $30. 150 before, and now it's 30, which is much better.
30. And how are you currently getting customers? What do those channels look like?
Facebook ads, and then I started kind of my own, like almost affiliate style TikTok, where it's not wild biome, which makes it easier for me to say whatever I want, basically. And then like I just kind of pitch wild biome.
Has that been successful using TikTok?
It has, yeah. It just kind of clicked within the last month and a half. But sometimes we do, I do 3 or 4 times the amount of sales on TikTok than I do on Facebook for a day.
Really?
So, yeah.
How big is your TikTok?
I only have like less than 2,000 followers, but they're all hyper focused. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're still driving sales there.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got your CAC is 30, your LTV, let's just call it 210 because that's a very easy ratio, but that's 7 to 1.
Yeah.
That's a really good, I shouldn't say really good. That's a good LTV to CAC ratio. Why not throw more money at it? I mean, like how fast are you growing at this point?
We're growing like 30% a month over month.
Okay. But how much is your revenue on a monthly basis?
Monthly basis, we're making like, I think we made just shy of like 15 grand last month.
That's your revenue, or that was your
revenue?
Net? Right. Okay. So 15.
Yeah. Netted 5, something like that.
So you're going between $1,000 and $2,000 in revenue a month. Essentially, you're bringing on close to 10 new customers every month.
We did just over 100 new customers last month, and then or 2 months ago, and 150 last month.
Because 100 at $45 for that first month, right, would be, how much would that be? Am I like
100 at $45?
Oh, that's $4,500, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, okay.
And then we have,
and then you have a bunch of other people who are already on the recurring side of things. Dude, that's all right. So like you're getting new customers, they're coming in at a good clip. What is your current bottleneck or constraint to more growth?
Right now, we have 2 nutritionists that are capable of doing things, but only one is like trained. And she's working another job, and then, but she's about to move where she can have more time. So that's about to open up a little bit.
Is the nutritional consult paid, or is it like free of charge included with the
it's part of the whole shtick. So it doesn't take her much time to analyze the data that you send her and then give diet recommendations from there.
Why would the nutritionist be a bottleneck to growth? It seems like you'd still be able to generate a bunch of sales. It may be a bottleneck to fulfilling some of that stuff, but not necessarily growth.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I misunderstood your question. Yeah. The reason I haven't put a ton of money behind it is that I would be afraid that we wouldn't be able to fulfill it, basically.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
How quickly after their purchase are they having this conversation with the nutritionist?
Within a day.
What is the conversation?
Again, it's not a conversation. It's merely her reviewing their 30-point questionnaire and then sending them diet recommendations.
Wow.
Yeah. But in addition to all of that, you get some people who go through the protocol entirely silent, and then they leave a 5-star review at the end. Those are the golden customers, right?
Yeah, sure.
But then you get others who are like, "Hey, my dog just sneezed too hard. Like, can you please help me?" And so the nutritionist has to go in via email, and then they have another email in our inbox like 20 minutes later. And so there are people who are very high touch, and there are people who are no touch at all.
Could you license like her knowledge and recommendations for diet? Because it seems to me you could easily take that information, put it into a prompt with artificial intelligence, even ChatGPT, the prompt window is wide enough.
Yeah.
And then you could just answer customer questions using AI. You wouldn't necessarily need, you could have a nutritionist review it, but you wouldn't need a nutritionist to write out the recommendation every single time. Have you thought about doing that?
Yeah. So we actually had something built like that at the very beginning. It's probably on me that we haven't used it very much, but like the questions are so nuanced that I'm not sure it would work anyway. We should definitely
give me an example of a nuanced question.
It's like this spot on my dog is red and it's like looking like there's pus below it. I fed him, he's on this dog food, and he's a little bit overweight, and he's had like these 3 conditions for the last 6 months.
Sure.
All these things are contributing to it. So it's almost like a little medical database.
Well, but are these nutritionists asking for additional context, or are they just giving an answer based
They're
on?
they're asking. Yeah, so that's the other weird thing is like most of the responses that would go out or include like several different questions based on the email that they got in the first place.
Mm,
Yeah.
so it is hyper tailored.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still think
Which
you
is
could. I
cool.
think you could still have artificial intelligence like
Yeah.
turn one nutritionist into 10, right? Because it, maybe it just takes the base level recommendation and then allows the nutritionist to not have to type up everything or just focus on the things that are most important. Like I have a company that we're incubating right now. That's an AI healthcare company. We help with diagnosing in skilled nursing facilities in that setting, and that's essentially what we're doing. Is we're just pulling out the most pertinent data, bringing it to the fore, so that the clinician isn't spending 45 minutes reading, the patient's whole H&P in order to find the one or two things that they need to focus on. It's kind of pulling it out up front, and they're spending the majority of their mental power actually assessing it as opposed to like reading and finding. So
Yeah.
anyways, that would
Yeah.
just be a suggestion. I think you could absolutely use AI.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to revisit that. Again, we do have the tool built, but it hasn't been used yet.
Especially now that you have all of these questions and answers. Like how many people have answered the questionnaire?
We have kind of like a half questionnaire for our homepage, and then we have the full questionnaire for all our customers. Probably like between all of that, like 3 to 5,000 people.
Wow. Yeah. So you have enough data to feed an LLM to basically say, here are all the questions, here are the answers, and then here were the recommendations that each one of these nutritionists gave. And then the LLM would be able to start seeing patterns and making inferences on, oh, red spot behind the ear usually indicates X, right? I mean, like, so you're kind of building the data that you would need in order to train a model to be
Totally.
successful at making this. Anyways, I don't want to get
Yeah.
too sidetracked on that, but
No, yeah. Yeah.
so you're currently doing Facebook ads. You're currently doing TikTok. I know we were messaging back and forth, and you have like an email campaign that you're working on as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just from one of Chris's blog posts or whatever, his cold email outreach, I got a list of like 70,000 French bulldog owners in the US that I haven't started cold outreach for yet. I just got it like a day or so ago.
So what about the customers? All right, if let's just say you have 5,000, because that's an easy number.
Mhm.
You have 5,000 customers, quote unquote. How many people right now? How many paying customers do you have right now that are active?
Currently, somewhere between 3 and 400, I think.
Okay, so you've got a lot that are inactive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's your plan with those inactive customers? Is it, I mean, that seems like a very warm lead base to kind of go back to and start mining through. Are you doing any of that?
Yeah, we have some email campaigns, although I certainly can admit that I have not focused deeply on that. We have some like nurture campaigns and things like that, but they're not as strong as I would like them to be. But that's a really good point.
And then do you sell any other products?
No, just this one thing right now. It's in the works, but
I would think you have 5,000 people that have gone through and purchased with you. You don't just have 5,000 people that you can sell to again. You have a database of 5,000 people you can ask questions to. Like, you could, obviously you have to use it sparingly, but you could ask them, what's a product that we didn't have that you would think that you would like us to have? Or,
yeah.
in the last year, what are some of the pet products you have purchased?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like, just get information from them and see which products are the most frequently purchased or most in demand. And then you just easily start adding that at checkout, because they're already going to your website. There's already enough trust for them to build that you've built in order for them to purchase the subscription. It seems like a no-brainer to offer add-ons or upsells, upcharges.
Yeah, totally. And we do already have like some other products that we refer out quite a bit and that are super useful during the protocol itself.
Are you partnering with any like influencers?
And that was how we got our first 10K in sales, actually, from the 3-month kit. It's actually Lizzie's sister, my partner's sister. She's got a good following, and we helped her dog heal. And then
Interesting.
Yeah, she made $10,000 for so.
Because that seems like a very easy way to sell into this market.
Yeah, so I've been reaching out. We do have like a few influencers currently on the protocol.
Mm-hmm.
That the issue there is like you got to like we've got to heal your dog before you have real skin in the game.
Yeah,
and so it's like it's a long process
taking
to
time.
get, not just like a candy bar that tastes good, you know. So,
all right. Well, I have some rapid fire questions to wrap up. Is that cool?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. What do you love about this business?
I really like that it's actually like we're not a snake oil. I can't take the products myself.
Yeah.
So, like we got a call one day from we get 5-star reviews all the time, but we got a call one day from a girl who just was crying. Her 10-year-old dog, they were about to put her to sleep. Her rear end was like emaciated. She had this bone problem. She had all these, she'd been itchy for 5 years. It was crazy. Like she couldn't go for walks anymore. 3 months in, and she was like, she had good energy. She was running around. She was a new dog, and like this girl was just sobbing on the phone. It was like really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's super fun to know that it's actually changing things.
What do you hate about it?
It's so hard to convince somebody that it's going to be real, because at the customer that we typically get is somebody who's done everything. Like they've tried every little probiotic chew.
And so they're probably very jaded by this point.
Very, very jaded. And it's also like a highly educational product. Like you've got to know a lot before you're convinced. And so it takes a lot there on that side.
If you have 2 hours in your day and you are not working on any work and you don't have any family responsibilities, what are you obsessed with right now? What's like taking up mind share?
Yeah, lately it's been like a focus on like highly processed foods for me. Like my wife and I are pretty healthy people, but we've just like up leveled, it feels like, in the last 3 months, cutting out almost all ultra processed foods. And
were you always like this, or did this business kind of spur that?
Maybe correlated there, but yeah, it's like just some podcasts that I've been into and listened to kind of got me thinking like, whoa, I actually don't eat that healthy. Let me try. Like I've always considered myself as somebody who eats healthy and works out, but these podcasts are like, just no, you don't. Like, no, you don't. You're eating chips like 5 times a week. Yeah, and so, but I feel like we've cracked a code that says like, this is how you stay healthy. This is how your bot, like you don't gain 20 pounds even without working out for the rest of your life.
All right, here's the last question. What advice would you give to your pre-entrepreneurial self?
Learn to tell really good stories and tell them to an audience. Like participate in telling stories, in writing to an email, like a group of email subscribers, or even on TikTok. Like just get really good at telling stories. I think like if you learn that skill and maybe 2 other marketing skills, I'm talking to myself now, like you will be successful in whatever business you want to start, because they're like, marketing is marketing. If you learn those key skills, you can take them anywhere.
I think that's great advice, man. That's all. That's great advice. Where can people come find you? What's the name of your company, website?
Wildbiome.dog is the website. And I think you can search that on Instagram as well, find the same thing. And then my own personal affiliate kind of TikTok is Dog People Problems.
Dog People Problems. All right, I'll go check it out.
Yeah.
This was awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.